Hi there. Thank you for being here. Closing the buyer. Oh gosh, that is, we're going to talk about a lot of different things regarding the buyer. And I was trying to put this in a sequential order of some sort, this one first, this one second. I had a bit of a hard time deciding which is first and second. So it may be a little bit out of order, but the bottom line is there's a lot of great information here on working buyers. Okay, let's begin. Don't hesitate to ask questions. And if you could save the question to the end, it helps me out so I don't get sort of sidetracked with what information I have for you. Okay, let's start. Well, the first thing I say to real estate people, to be successful in this business, you have to learn how to master closing, because the minute you meet somebody, you should be closing them. In other words, everything you say, all the words that come out of your mouth, the systems you use, everything that you do working with clients should all be geared towards getting them to buy from you or getting them to list with you. So, it's all about learning how to master closing. So, when you're looking at the steps, more or less, the first thing we have to do when we meet a client is we have to make a connection. And what we mean by that, I don't mean, oh, hi, John, hi, Mary kind of thing. What I'm really talking about is you're trying to make a mental connection with these people. You're trying to be able to be working with someone that feels comfortable with you, that you feel comfortable with, that you make a business connection with, because that's going to make such a difference in whether or not you're going to be able to close these people at all. You're not going to you can't make everybody happy. Not every client is going to be happy working with you. So you have to learn how to selectively choose the right clients that are going to work with you, that will eventually turn into business for you. So the next thing, of course, is learning how to get the appointment, whether you're getting the appointment on the phone or you're getting it through email or you're getting it through text message. The bottom line is, we have to learn how to be able to get that appointment. We also need to learn how to be able to get them to sign a buyer agency. So we're going to talk about buyer agency here today as well. And then, of course, it's about getting the offer or a sign back. If they don't accept the offer and the offer is signed back, how to be able to get them to accept the sign back kind of thing. And then, of course, being able to get referrals. The goal is being able to get referrals from all clients, So this is just sort of a little chart that I wanted you to sort of see how it flows, is important to understand how that works. So let's talk about making a connection. As I say, what you're really trying to do is be able to have the kind of conversation that somebody will eventually open up to you. Okay. Because what people tell you, and what the real truth is are often two completely different things. You have found out by now, if not, you haven't been in it long enough, but most of you by now have found out people will lie to you. They will cheat you. These things happen, unfortunately, in our business. But so now what I'm talking about, is when you're making that connection, it means, even the way you style your messages, you're styling your messages based on the person, not based on just the information. Okay. So the way you word things, we'll talk more about that, being able to keep them on the phone talking, like if they calling on a sign call, being able to, when they drive by, they see the sign, they pick up the phone, they call you. And all of a sudden, I saw the sign on 123 Green Street. How much are they asking? Oh, they're asking $875,000. Thank you. And they hang up. So, what did we accomplish there? Nothing, right? So it's learning how and making a connection, how to be able to keep people on the phone, how to be able to keep them on your website, because, today, it's about your messages. It's about the content that you're writing, because a lot of times that's where people are meeting you for the first time. They're not necessarily meeting you in a newspaper, obviously in a newspaper ad and a phone call. It's typically through writing. So knowing how to script the right way and we'll talk more about that. So when you're meeting someone, what you're really trying to do is find their hot button. What is it that's going to motivate these people? Is it price and affordability? Is that their main thing? Do they want to be buying here because the school system, the area's got a great school that's well recognized in the community and in the location. So, or is it a style of home? What is it that is most important to them? And of course, that is what you want to understand, is what's going to make them buy, is that hot item. And it might be one or two of these things. I always say to real estate people, if I walked up to you right now, okay, we were in a grocery store example, and I was behind you in a grocery store, and it happened to be a grocery store in the area that you live and the area that you work in, kind of thing. And so the person behind you starts chatting with you, and they start, you tell them you're a realtor, they ask what you do, a kind of thing. And so you're chatting, and they're interested in buying a house, and they're looking for a house in this area. So if they said to you right now, if you ask them, well, tell me what you're looking for, and they described a house, what's your answer to that? Do you have, would you have product knowledge in your mind that you could start communicating with them? Or would you have to say something like, well, new listings come out every day. I'd be happy to set you up on an automatic email where I can send you listings directly to your inbox. If this is what you're saying, I say to real estate agents, part of the business that you're in, you're not fulfilling. I always say you need to be out there looking at houses. Real estate people don't look at houses. They show them to customers, but they don't go out and look at houses. You need to go out and look on a regular basis. There shouldn't be a week go by where you're not looking at 6 to 10 houses, just for yourself, because now when somebody's in that line and they say, oh yeah, I'm looking for a double garage, it has to have a big kitchen, and I need 3 bedrooms, and you say, oh my God, I saw one yesterday, and now you can talk about that listing that you found that had this amazing huge kitchen that had just been all renovated, kind of thing. See, now you can start talking about something that you've seen that you can get passionate about. That is going to pique their interest. What is going to get people to make an appointment with you or to give you a phone number so that you can call them back, kind of thing? What's going to pique their curiosity more than anything else is a house that you have, that you've talked about, that you're passionate about, that's going to excite them. And that doesn't happen if you're not out looking at houses. Yes, I know you're showing houses, and the ones that you're showing, you obviously remember. But many of those might be sold by now. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes that people make. We're also going to talk about these listings that go into your inbox. I have a whole pet peeve on that one too that we're going to talk about. So ask questions. I've got some questions in this situation. So what you're really trying to do more than anything is get to know these people and have them open up to you so that you can have I'll show you some examples of a really good conversation when it comes to qualifying, or when it comes to getting them to pay that next price or put an offer in. So in getting the appointment or buyer agency, I always say, back to what I just said a second ago, the right house will get you the appointment. You got that right house that you can describe to them and get them excited about on the phone, that's going to get you an appointment every time. Coming to meet you because you're a great real estate agent is not going to get you the appointment. A house will get you the appointment. So ask them, what is most important to you? The things that we talked about, the hot buttons, is it price? Is that the most important thing? Is it the area most important, that they have to buy in this neighborhood, the school, back to the style of home? Ask that question. You should have a why you pitch. So, if somebody, asks you, listen, there's an awful lot of real estate agents. Why you? You should have, something that you can say very quickly, well, I'm glad you asked that question when you asked me, why me? If you're looking for a condo, which obviously you say to me that you are, then I've been working the condominium market for many, many, many years. It's my area of expertise. I specialize in that, and not all real estate agents understand the condo market unless you've studied it and you've worked in it. So if that's what you really want, then I'm the agent that you should be choosing. So have something that you can say about what it is that you do. And that's why I always believe you should have an area of expertise. And I sort of demonstrated that here. So work on your why you pitch that you can create and say quickly. Don't rush people. Some people need to talk to you 3, 4, 5 times, before you'll get an appointment out of them. The key is to keep your foot in the door. I always say in real estate, there's no such thing as goodbye. If I'm on a phone, communicating with you and I still haven't got an appointment with you, then I'm going to end the conversation by not just saying, okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. And hopefully we can, when you're ready, you'll give me a call. See, I would not end it that way. I would end it. I know this is a big decision. And I understand that you want to think things through. Is there a possibility that I can put you on my list of receiving my newsletter? And this is going to give you a lot of great information on buying and selling real estate. And you'll find the information very, very, very useful in helping you make a decision. Let me put you on my newsletter. And so now the door is open for you to do that. It's a follow-up now that they're going to expect to get. You're not just giving it to them. You've asked to send it to them, which makes it much, much better. Or just say, listen, can I call you back? Can I give you a couple of weeks and then call you back in a couple of weeks? What you want to do is keep your foot in the door and keep them understanding and knowing your name. Okay. And that's why I say put them on your newsletter list. So let's talk about buyer agency. And, this is how I would be explaining it. Mr. Buyer, we are obligated today to explain agency to you. And so now, go through the different agencies, which ones they are. Every area is kind of different. So, but explain the different agencies. But now when it comes to the buyer agent, explain, Mr. Seller, if you want me to work exclusively for you, I want you to understand that unless you sign a buyer agency with me, I am obligated in that case to represent the seller's interest, not because you're not asking me to represent you. So I could not be as open and forthright with the information that I share than if I was under buyer agency with you. So as a buyer agent, I am 100% representing your interests and only your interests. And that is would be my recommendation. Almost all of the clients that I work with are under buyer agency. So that's what you should be saying, something along this line on why buyer agency is important. And it is important because unless they sign a buyer agency with you, you can't give them. There's certain information that you'd have to withhold kind of thing. Whereas if you are working under agency with them, you are able to provide them and are supposed to provide them 100%, your fiduciary duties, of course, and good faith and full disclosure. So you're going to be able to represent their interests so much better. So whenever you're working clients, my advice is always to try to get them to work buyer agency with you. Discuss the buying process. Of course, you're going to be determining what they can afford. Then, of course, you're going to determine location. Is it only this area? But if they can't find what they want in this area, have you looked in this area as well? Your job is to be able to make recommendations, on one area versus another area that might be just around the corner kind of thing. So unless they want to be in this area for a specific reason, your job is to make recommendations in other neighborhoods as well. Of course, you're looking to determine their needs, and remember what they say they need and what they want are 2 different things. And what they end up buying, actually, it's 3 things: what they need, what they want, and what they end up buying. It's always going to be very, very, very different. So remember what they tell you in here and out here most of the time, because there's so often they end up buying completely opposite of what they tell you they want. It's so important to explain the searching of homes process. I'll come back to that one because this is an opportunity for you to stand out from the competition. I'll come back to that point. searching for the home and then showing these homes that best suit their needs, and determine which home is best, and look at the homes before before they're sold. The more homes you've seen physically when they do get sold, and they say, well, how come this one sold for this kind of money? You can now talk about the house because you've seen it. It makes you more educated and more knowledgeable because you've seen these homes. So let me just go to the next slide and see what this next slide is before. Yes. I'm going to go back to this one before I go to that one. So let me talk to you about starting their home search and what best suits, and the inbox. I got this question asked yesterday. I was doing a session for an office yesterday, and the real estate agent asked me the question about sending emails, automatic emails to the inbox, from Toronto Real Estate Board, where they can just automatically, get their listings, into the inbox. And she was asking me, is that a good idea? Well, let me tell you, I have a real pet peeve with that. And I speak from a buyer's point of view. I'm not speaking from a real estate agent's point of view. I would not speak to somebody and maybe haven't taken them out one time, or in many cases, never have taken them out. And based on the information they tell me over a phone call, will go to Toronto Real Estate Board and set up an automatic email to go to them directly to their inbox. Because real estate agents, I think, depend way too much on these listings and the inbox and are not doing their whole job. What should be happening, okay, is that you listen to what they have to say of what they're looking for. Have the listings come into your inbox. You open each listing, evaluate each listing. And ultimately, if this is a client you're working with, you should be going out and seeing them and weeding out the ones. For example, pictures don't tell you everything. Could look gorgeous with the photos on the MLS, but you walk into the house and it's a smoker's house and it reeks with smoke. And there's no way in heck that your buyer would ever buy anything like that. See, you wouldn't know that by the MLS. Or they've got big pets and, it has a real strong pet odor. You wouldn't be able to see that. It happens to be right across the street from a big strip mall. And if you don't know the area that well, you don't know that it happens to be right across the street. So there's many things that you don't see from the MLS photos. So here's how I would be using that. Mr. Buyer, most real estate agents will just have the listings will automatically email you listings right in their inbox, because it's simple, it's easy, and to be honest with you, it's the lazy approach. That's not what I do. What I do is I listen carefully to what it is you're looking for. I will then select that on my on the Toronto Real Estate Board. I will have all of those listings that meet your description come into my inbox. I will then look at them and I will weed out the ones that I don't think that would be suited to you, and I will only show you houses that meet what your qualifications and description is. So you see, that now separates you from everyone else, because that's what everybody else is going to do. That's not what I do. I want you to know how thorough I am. So make sure you use that as an opportunity to stand apart from the competition. So you should create a buyer's package. You should be using, just like you have, a package when you go on a listing appointment. You certainly have a listing presentation. You should have a buyer presentation and a package that you leave with them, after you've met. So there should be information on a pre-approval process. I'm going to talk to you about it. A buyer booklet that I have that I'd like to offer you an opportunity to receive from me. Also an overview of what to expect in the buying process. Example, as we were talking about before, the home search, how you weed through all these listings to only show you the ones that are the best value and the best house that suits their needs. Putting an offer together and how that works, the deposit, and then the negotiating of the offer. And once again, buyer agency and representing their interests, inspections and appraisal process, title work, in other words, the lawyer's work, title work. And of course, making sure that everything closes smoothly, that you're going to be manage this transaction all the way through. You don't just sell the house and then goodbye. You are on top of it all the way through until they get the keys in their hands and beyond. Okay, not only are you going to be there to make sure it closes successfully, I'm always going to be here, Mr. Buyer, and anytime you need anything or have any questions, I want you to call me. And of course, you want testimonials. Now, before I go to the next slide, I have a book, an ebook that I wrote. All it is it's in Word file right now. It doesn't look any good. It's just a Word file, but it's 19 pages. It comes across as talking to the buyer. It's not, it's educating them on the buying process is what this book is. And ideally can be used for a multitude of reasons. There's a whole qualification process, part of it in this booklet as well. There's a mortgage section in there. It's 19 pages. What I would recommend is that you read through it and take out the parts that you don't want included. There's also a section on new versus resale. So it's a really well done booklet, and I can use it for articles on your website. You can use it for articles on your social media. You can sign up for my free ebook, but you need to make it look good. Don't send it to them in a Word file like I'm sending it to you. It's not appropriate to send it that way. So if you're going to ask me to send this to you, make sure that you have a graphic person put it together in a nice format for you. It'll cost you a little bit, won't cost you the end of the world. It might cost you a few $100s, but the bottom line is you'll have this book forever. And it'll serve you well, and it'll make you money, I have no doubt. So send me an email at training@homelife.com, training@homelife.com, and ask for my buyer's book. Okay, getting the offer or the sign back. So they should have already by this point have a mortgage commitment. And I'm assuming that if this is a customer you're working with, I always say to real estate agents, whenever possible, take control of the mortgage side. The worst thing you can do, trust me, is send them to their bank or let them say, oh, I'm going to go see my bank manager. Let me tell you, you have no idea how many people the banks turn down. So bank is, for the creme de la creme client, who's making a lot of money, has AAA credit rating. That's when you go to the bank. You're a lawyer, this kind of thing. So the last thing you want to be is some client who has maybe a little bit of a credit issue, is, their qualifications are squeezing a little bit. That's not a bank customer. So you want to make sure that you've got your mortgage people in place to be able to help clients, not only that qualify greatly, that yes, we can put them with the bank, also the ones that have a problem. So by now, hopefully your client has already received a commitment. You still need to put a condition in though. When they ask, what do you think we should offer? Here's a time where, where that connection comes in, because truthfully, I want to make sure you understand, do not be the first one to suggest a price. So when the customer says to you, what do you think we should offer? Or how much do you think we could buy this for? They ask you anything about price, and no price has been discussed up to this point. You do not want to say, well, they're asking $785,000. We could try $775. I don't want you doing anything like that. Do not answer that question, okay? Because I want to explain. I'll explain what you should be saying. Don't give them a price is what I'm saying. Because once you give the price, I want to make sure you understand this. If the first price coming out of somebody's mouth is the real estate agent, then that becomes their maximum. So now, no matter what price you said, the fact that you said, okay, well, we could try $775,000, that becomes their maximum, and I can guarantee you they're going under that. I guarantee you. They might have been thinking 780, but you just said 775. And they're going to come and say something like, well, let's try 765. They're going to do something like that, guaranteed. And you will have one hell of a time getting them over 775. So if you get a sign back of almost full price, and ultimately, 780 is the number that could sell the house, you're going to have a hard time getting them past 775. That's why never be the first to suggest the price. So, Mr. Buyer, I understand why you're asking that question, but to be honest with you, I really don't have an answer for you, because it's your house. It's how much you want it. Let me ask you the question. How would you feel, if you lost it for a few $100s or for $1,000 or $2,000? How would you feel? That's what you have to ask. This is your house, and it's what it's worth to you. We've looked at a lot of houses. Finding a good one has not been easy. This is the best that this is the most excited I've seen you in all the houses we've looked at. So let me ask you, what's it worth to you? How badly do you want it? And I've even gone so far as, think of it this way. What's your absolute no price? In other words, I don't care what I'm never going to pay X amount of dollars. Then it has to be slightly less than that, if you follow what I'm saying. So that is another way of approaching it. So my point here is, don't be the first one to suggest the price. Now, when they do give you that price, whatever the number is, okay, don't just say, okay. Okay, sit with it, pause, just shake your head in a yes direction and just sit with it. Say nothing for a minute or two. And now is the time to get them up. So if they do say 775 back and it's listed at 785, what your job is now is to try and get them higher than that price. Don't just give in to that price. You're trying to get them higher than that price. When is the best time to get them up in price? Right after they've seen the house. Not tomorrow, after they've thought about it for 24 hours, or they've driven by other houses, or they've went back online looking at other houses, now thinking maybe the price of 775 was too high, kind of thing. So what you want to do is you want to get them up now. Now is the time, is the best time to get them up in price. So don't just accept the first price that comes out of their mouth. Try to get them up from that, and never you be the first one to reveal what price you think they should offer. Go back to the reasons why. Why are they buying this? They wanted a house with a big kitchen, and this is the biggest kitchen that you've shown them. It's an amazing kitchen. They were crazy about it. So give them back the why. You wanted this house with a big kitchen. My God, the upgrades that are in that kitchen, it's amazing. The big family that you have and the amount of entertaining you do, I can just see you there, So bring back the why they're doing this, okay? And ask questions, what would you do here? And how would you, where would you put your dishwasher, kind of thing, or whatever. So ask questions. It's all about getting referrals. Every customer you meet, as we know, is about getting referrals. So, and keeping in touch, okay? Because you don't know how many times you're going to have to keep calling these people before you get the appointment. So you need to have good follow-up systems in place, drip campaigns. I'm assuming that you're using you should be using our tech package, the $39.99 package, because with that comes Imprev, which has a whole slew of marketing pieces. I mean, endless marketing pieces that are all created for you. Very, very, very easy. Regarding flyer advertising, someone's asking me. I'll come back to that. So, but there's a lot of great tools in that tech package. It's $39.99. You get the website, you get the marketing tools with Imprev, you get a referral system with Reach 150, which reaches out to your customers and helps you get referrals. It's a great package, and DocuSign, all for $39.99. So personal visits, remember all of your customers that you have, whether they bought or they haven't bought from you, the ones that you're working with, you should be reaching out to them a minimum 4 times a year. And I say that's nowhere near enough. I would be saying more like, 16 times a year. And the 4 times a year are the spring, summer, winter, fall. And of course, that's the time you should be bringing nice gift baskets to your clients, pumpkins and this sort of thing. You know what real estate people do, poinsettias to their good customers. You should be doing that. And that's what the 4 times a year is. But you should have a newsletter that's going out, and that should be sent out every single solitary month. So people should be receiving something from you at least, in my opinion, 16 times. 12 being the newsletter every month, and then the 4 times a year, something special. And you're going to hand deliver those something specials. A lot of agents are doing client appreciation events. They put them on in the summer, they put them on in the winter. I've seen if you're doing any Facebook, if you're using Facebook and you're connected with real estate agents, the top agents are all doing that big time. Throw housewarming parties. They bought a house from you. Pitch in, say, listen, let me help. If you're going to have a housewarming party, I'd like to make a donation. Buy something for the housewarming party, some wine or some fruit baskets or something, and then invite yourself and start networking there. Another great way to network. Be glad when people want to talk real estate. These are just, a few ideas on making sure that you're following up and so on. Steps to closing the buyer. So there's 4 qualifying points here. Their needs and their wants, their affordability, their passion. How badly do they really want to buy? How long have they been thinking about buying? Okay. And again, we talk about the pain points. What is it? Ask them. Okay. What is it that worries you? I know you're nervous. Tell me what are you nervous about? You see, this is where, when you've made a connection, if you have that connection, they'll open up to you. Well, I'm a little worried about what if I lose my job, or, whatever it is that they say. What are we? We're problem solvers. That's what we are as real estate people. They have worries, fears, doubts, concerns rolling around in their mind. You need to get them out onto the table, and they need to be addressed, because they're never going to pick up a pen and sign anything until all of their worries, fears, doubts are alleviated, and they have answers to it now, and they feel comfortable. So that's our job. That's your job, is to help them answer those worries, doubts, questions, and fears. That's what your job is. So set their expectations, okay? Explain to them, that, you don't get everything you want. You'll never find 100% of what you want. So there's going to have to be compromises. You and I both know that. Every time you sell a house, the person has compromised on 1 or 2 things. There is no such thing as the perfect house, but there's the best we've seen. And again, Mr. Buyer, you'll know when it's the right house, because when you walk in that door, you and I both know, real estate people, what happens. That's why I say never discuss price before emotion. Why do they want you to test drive the car before you talk money? Because they want your emotions there. So you want to get them inside the house. You want to get those emotions going. What you do not want to be doing is talking money before emotion, because if they haven't seen the house and already you're talking money and and offering prices and this sort of thing before they even see it, I mean, you are ass backwards here, because you're never going to get anybody to buy anything if they haven't fallen in love with it. And you can't fall in love with it from a photograph. I'm sorry. You can't fall in love with it from a video. You can only fall in love with it when you've walked through that door. I know people buy houses online and they don't travel and they buy them sight on, but those are investors. Most of the time, those are investors, 99.9% of the time. That's a very different thing than finding a house. So your personal question for flyers, 2 agents working together. Should they both be on should both their names be on a flyer? Yes. I don't see anything wrong with having it. If you've got the 2 of you working, 2 for the price of 1 kind of thing, then absolutely. I see nothing wrong with having both names on there. And good question. I hope that was what your question was. Anyway, so set their expectations. We talked about the home search and searching for houses and making sure you're doing it the right way, weeding out the ones that you know are wrong. And then, of course, explain the offer process to them. Okay. As a matter of fact, on that first initial meeting, there's a copy in my package that I give, my buyer's package. There's an agreement, a blank agreement of purchase and sale in there. So they can look at it, take it home, review it, because when we find the right house, we want to make sure that you have had a chance to review this. It's a standard form. It's used by all real estate agents in the province of Ontario. It's the clauses are familiar by every real estate attorney that does real estate law. They're very familiar with these clauses. There's nothing hidden in here at all. So, make sure they understand that. Let them see that. Let them have that. Get that out of the way. So when the right house comes along, we need to act, and we need to act immediately. Okay, because houses sell quickly, as you can see. How many of the houses that we wanted to see are sold? And then explain to them how the negotiations work, and how you go and you sit across the table. And sometimes if you're not allowed to go, you explain that, how, and that's another point here. Remember, know your MLS rules and regulations when it comes to offer presentation. Know your MLS rules and regulations. Now, I'm assuming most of you are with the Toronto Real Estate Board. If not, make sure you know what your real estate board rules are. Here are the rules with the Toronto Real Estate Board when it comes to offer presentations. You, as a buyer's agent, have the right to be present on an offer presentation, especially under buyer agency, okay? Now, unless the seller has requested their listing agent be the only one present, the seller must sign a form in order for this to be valid. They need to sign a form, and that form needs to be in the listing broker's file. And it must be so noted on the MLS listing that the only person who is allowed to present offers is a listing agent. Form with listing broker. And now, as a buyer's agent, you ask to receive a copy of that, and you show the buyer's agent, this is a house that I cannot represent you on because the seller has requested that only his agent be present. Here's the form. Okay. Do you still want to see this house? You should know that in advance. Okay. Because maybe they don't want to buy the house unless you can represent them properly. So make sure you understand the rules and regulations. And that is one rule that you should know, and know this way. Section 8, paragraph 4, I don't know where it is in the MLS rules and regulations, but find it and know where it is so that you can nicely and politely, when a real estate agent says to you, email me the offer because I'm going to present without you. But Mr. Agent, your MLS listing does not say that the seller has signed the form. There's even a form number. I'm not sure what it is. Toronto Real Estate Board will give you that form number. They have the forms in their supply catalog. And you can quote Form Did they sign Form X123? Paragraph 8, Section 5, MLS rules and regulations state, okay, I'm not trying to be difficult, but I'd like to see that form because I'm under buyer agency. I have to let my buyer know that I can't represent them in this case. So know your rules, okay? Don't let them just say to you, oh, fax it or email it rather. Don't let them just say to do that. Understand if that's the case, the seller had to have signed this form. That form needs to be in the listing broker's file, and it needs to be on the MLS listing as such, and they need to provide that form to you. And if they don't, they're in violation of MLS rules and regulation, and they could get fined for that. So know that, okay? Because truthfully, I do not agree that you should just let just email the offer, and because the real estate agent says so. How do you, if that's the case, then I want to make sure you understand this. You are giving up 100% control of you ever making a deal. And the control is in the hands of the listing agent. And he doesn't care about your buyer. He cares about his seller. And he doesn't care whether your buyer gets it or somebody else's buyer gets it. You care if your buyer gets it. So remember that, and how do you know that this isn't their first listing and they have no experience at all? Or how do you know the listing agent is even there? Maybe the listing agent's on holiday and some stranger to the seller is presenting this offer and not the listing agent at all. Understand the rules, my friends. Here in the Toronto Real Estate Board, there are some areas where you don't have a choice, where you have to email it and you do not and cannot be present. Let me tell you, in a case like that, I always say to real estate agent, the only guarantee you have is when you're a listing agent. And that's why I believe so much in being on the listing side of the business. But working with buyers, understand that you need to know these rules. Okay, as I said, find their pain points, get them to open up to you. What is their biggest concern? What is their biggest fear about buying? Whatever your concern is, Mr. Buyer, I know we can solve it. I have no doubt that we can overcome whatever the issue might be. Help me out. What is it that you're worried of? Our job is to reassure them. Our job is to make them feel comfortable. Make sure you don't share your problems on a transaction with your buyer. Don't ever say, boy, am I ever dealing with an idiot listing agent. Don't ever do anything like that, ever, ever, ever with your buyer. I don't care how big of an idiot the listing agent is. You never talk about the problems you're having with the buyer about mortgage people, about lawyers. You do not discuss your problems. You ask questions to help you solve the problem, but you do not discuss the troubles you're having. If you do that, what you're showing is your weakness. You're worrying them, you're pressuring them, you're making them feel uncomfortable. You're doing all the wrong things. I make buying easy. We make it fun. Let her have some fun. Let's go out and look at some houses. Oh my God, I love looking at houses, kind of thing. Make it fun. Don't make it a worrisome thing, okay? You need to have be sure that they have trust in you and confidence in you. And showing all the problems is making them lose confidence in you, not make confidence in you. So what are their needs and must-haves, as we were talking about? Make sure you understand the difference. In other words, I can tell you, I remember one time in particular, I was buying a house in the High Park area. And at this time, it was maybe 30 years ago. And I remember saying to the agent, don't show me a house without I need a private drive. I mean, hard to find private drives in the Bloor West Village area. There's mutual drives, and laneway parking is far more common. Any of you that work that area know what I mean. So don't show me a house that doesn't have a private drive. It has to have a fireplace. And, and I want the old wood trim, okay, because there's a lot of that in there. And what did I get? A house with a mutual drive, not a private drive, no fireplace, and painted over wood trim. So remember, what they say they want and what they end up buying are always, most of the time, going to be completely different. Why did I buy this house? Because, oh my God, the layout of this house, the kitchen, the backyard, the basement, the way he finished it, it had so many pluses, that I forgot about these 2 or 3 little must-haves that I didn't end up getting, and it didn't bother me. I still bought the house. So find their desires, but remember, what they end up buying is probably going to be very, very different. So have an open mind as to what to show them. And the other thing, by the way, don't ever say to a customer, well, if you want to get what you want, you're going to have to pay more. We're not going to be able to find you what you want in this price range. You're going to have to pay more. Nobody wants to pay more. Okay, nobody wants to pay more. You don't want to pay more either. So here's what you've got to do. Okay. You qualify their affordability, okay, based on the facts, their job, and you do the proper qualification. Now they can afford between $700 and $725. Okay, that's what they can afford, but they only want to spend $650. They can afford up to $725, but they only want to spend $650. They don't want to go higher than that. Trust me. Okay, what you do is show them everything that's available in the $6 to $650, $660, $670 price range. Show them everything in that price range that meets their criteria. And I know it's not what they are going to like. What they want is about $715 to $725. That's what's going to get them almost everything they want. And just take them to the house that's, listed at $725, but now it has all the things. What I want you to do is, I don't want you to say to them, well, I have to show you in this price range, because don't do that. Just open the door and let them walk in. And you know what's going to happen. Their emotions are going, oh my God, they're going to be doing that. That's what you want to be doing. Okay. So pay attention to that comment. Qualify. Here are some of the questions. When did you start planning on moving? That was an important question to me when I first met somebody. How long have you been thinking about buying a house is the same question, okay, phrased in a slightly different way. Did they just start thinking about it? Oh, we've been thinking about it now for about 4 or 5 years, or is this something they've been thinking about for a long time? The longer they've been thinking about it, the closer they are to making this a reality, okay? The other, have they been pre-qualified yet? Have they gotten any kind of a mortgage pre-qualification commitment at all? And if they haven't, I want you to immediately talk about your lenders that you deal with. You have 2 or 3 different lenders, or you have one lender, whoever. I want you to talk about your lenders and say, here's why I use them. Here's what's good about their service that they provide. And I could easily make an appointment for you to meet with them. They'll come directly to your house, or they'll ask you questions over the phone, whatever you prefer. Can I set that up for you? So immediately go into the qualifying process right here by connecting them with your mortgage person. Okay. Don't just leave it and say, well, we're going to need to qualify you. Take it to the next step. Let me get you qualified right now. I'll call them up, kind of thing, and we can set the appointment up. How long have they been looking? Another question I ask when I'm on the phone, do they rent now or do they own? If they own, are you going to be selling the house you're in to make a move to this new one? Or are you buying for an investment? Okay. So very important question. Do they have an agent? If I'm on the phone again with somebody, do they have an agent that they're working with? Have they signed a buyer agency with them? Did you pick up a pen and sign anything? Because if there is, then, I can't help you. You have to go back to your own agent. But just because they say they have an agent, but no, we haven't signed anything. So they can work with anybody. They haven't signed a buyer and agency with any particular agent. Well, it's good to have more than one agent looking for you. Let me be another agent looking for you. Let's talk about your needs and go right into the qualification of what their passion. Describe your dream house to me. Okay. So don't just accept, oh yeah, I'm working with an agent. Remember, did they sign a buyer agency? Um, we talked about setting their expectations. First time buyers, obviously, they will set the location of the first meeting. I always want to meet them. I never meet in front of a house. So real estate people who they say, I've driven by your property, and can you tell me the price? And now we get into a conversation. Yeah, would you like to see the inside? Yes. And you've never taken them out before. I do not like meeting someone at a house and do the qualification with them now outside the house that I just showed them that they drove by. That to me, I can be honest with you. I can count the amount of times on one hand in years of real estate where I ever have made a deal like that. Maybe once, but I would be hard pressed to even remember a time where I have given out the address and I have met them. A lot of times they're a no-show. Okay. And I've given the address and I've driven over there and they're not there. And they came a half an hour earlier and, didn't like the outside for whatever reason and decided to travel on. So I always want to meet. Here's how I prefer to work with my buyers, Mr. Buyer. I'm very detailed. I have a really very strong follow-up work system that I work with buyers. I want to make sure that I totally understand what you're looking for. I suggest that we sit down and we do a meeting to make sure that I understand exactly what it is you're looking for, your affordability factor, and if we could set that up in the next couple of days. During the week, weekends, what's better for you? During the day, evenings, what's better for you? And let them choose. If you want, I can come directly to your home if you like, or we could meet at my office. Okay. Or if you prefer, we could meet and have a coffee someplace. And a lot of real estate agents are doing that. Take your tablet and go and do it in a coffee shop. So my point is, meet with them before. Don't just give an address and meet them in front of a house. You're losing nothing if they say, no, I don't want to do that. People who are serious about buying are going to meet with you. Okay, they are, especially if you know how to pique their interest with a house. Okay, that's why I say have product knowledge. Go out and look at houses. It's going to make such a difference for you. Okay, the buyer booklet that I offered you. Here's a perfect opportunity to be able to say I have a really great buyer booklet. And the email again to get that buyer booklet is training@homelife.com, and it comes directly to me. Okay. Remember, this is only a Word document. Read through the whole thing. Eliminate what you don't want, what you don't like, and make sure that if you're altering anything in this book, you're taking responsibility for it. Okay, so remember that. So don't put anything in there that you're not 100% sure on. Everything that's in there, I'm 100% sure on. I just don't know if you want to talk about those things. You might want to separate it out into a different book or whatever and make it look good. Okay, if they're buying for an investment, are they a full-time investor? Are these people that do this full-time? Because that's a completely different type of client than somebody who owns a home now and has a lot of equity in their house and they're thinking about buying a condo to rent out as an investment. That's a very different customer than somebody who does this full-time. Okay. And by the way, to me, an investor is not what I call a AAA client. I would not drop everything to work with an investor because their desire is whether they buy this month or they buy in a year from now, doesn't matter, okay, to them. It really doesn't matter. There's no rush that they have this right away. Somebody who's getting married and wants to buy this before a certain date, that has a specific desire now, the urgency is there, that's a different situation altogether. So investors do not have the urgency factor there. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't work with them. Just don't drop everything and work only with them. We talked about home searches showing, don't just set up that auto listing. The auto listing, as a matter of fact, I worked with a real estate agent through the summer here. I won't mention who. And I stopped working with this person. I chose working with them because they specialized in a particular area that I was looking in, and they'd worked that area for a long time. She knew who I was. She knew what I did. She knew, that I was a trainer. All of that. There was no secrets there. And anyways, I can tell you, listings were coming to me. They're still coming to me. I've asked her to take me off, and I'm still getting them to this day. And she didn't even know what I got. She never even looked at what I got. And she told me that repeatedly. I said, well, that one, it was number 3 on the list. Oh, I never saw. I don't know which one you're talking about. Send me the MLS number, is what she was telling. In other words, she's wanting me to do her job. If a buyer is looking online and sending you listings and asking you, I want to see these houses, that's okay. Okay. But here's how I would say, fine, great. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to go and inspect it, and I'll get back to you and let you know what I think of it. Now, that's what I'm going to do. Now, a lot of you think, well, I don't have time to do that. Well, understand, okay, if you are you going to do 100% of your job, or are you only going to do 20% of your job or 40% of your job? Understand that this is what a good real estate agent is going to do, is weed out the area, weed out the houses, and say, these are the properties that I think, based on what your needs and wants are, best meet your what you are would be suited for you. So make sure you do that. And that's about everything that we've got here. Don't show more than 5 houses at one time. 8, 10 houses at one time, that's way too much, in my opinion. And by the way, 3 times I've taken them out, and I've now shown them, hypothetically, let's say 15 houses, 5 the first time, 5 the second time, 5 the third time, and we still haven't found the right house. Something's wrong. You need to sit down and requalify, because truthfully, here's the situation. If I take you out one time, me, the real estate agent, you, the customer, if I take you out one time, I already, after this one time out, know exactly what you're looking for. I could go out and inspect houses, and I can find exactly what you're looking for on the second time out, if it's on the market. Truthfully, that is how good you need to be as well, and I'm sure you are. If they are not buying after they've seen 15 houses, you need to requalify them. Obviously, something isn't working. Either what they're telling you they want isn't being 100% accurate. Maybe they got a credit problem. Maybe they don't have all of it. Something's fishy. Time to requalify and sit them down and say, we need to sit down and take a look at your situation, because for some reason we're not finding what you want. So do not let them leave without another appointment. At the end of every showing, before they leave, you already know you're meeting again on Saturday afternoon at 10 o'clock, or Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, rather. So make sure you don't just let them say, okay, I'll get back to you. Let me look around. I'll get back to you. No, before they leave, you already know when the next appointment is. Always, always, always. Okay. Getting the offer signed. We talked about explaining the offer, the buyer book. There's a whole process in that buyer book. Walk them through what to expect when an offer is put in. Explain what time of the essence is. I mean, between you and me and the 4 walls, real estate agent, you know what I mean when I say time kills deals. The longer they think about it, you want to show the house and get an offer now. Do what I call, when you have shown them the right house, do what I call the order, brain, close. And say, well, come on in, and let's talk about this house that you're in love with. And you're sitting in the office somewhere. Sorry. Let's put it in writing so we can look at it. Well, we're not ready to sign anything. Not a problem. Let's put it in writing so we can look at it and start writing up the offer. The fact that you wrote up the offer doesn't mean they've signed it, okay? But write it up, okay? Because once you've written it up, they're starting to buy it. Don't just say, okay, well, let me know when you're ready. No, let's put it in writing. Let's take a look at how it looks on paper. And then you're going through the process of the price, the closing date, the terms, the deposit. they're buying it as they're doing that. Okay. So always do the order blank close is what I call that. Bring them in. Let's put it in writing. Let's take a look at what this looks like on paper and start preparing it. And you'll handle their objections as they come up. Because now what I'm trying to do, well, are you ready for me to go and let me go fight to make this home your own? Are you ready? Here it is, kind of thing. So don't be afraid to do that. Whenever possible, be present at the offer presentation. We've already gone through that whole thing. Know the rules. This is just spelling out what we just said. Remember, when price is a challenge, price is always a challenge in almost every situation. Never, ever, ever walk out without a sign back. Always, always, always get a sign back. If they say, I want to sign it back to full price, and you've tried to get a little bit less and they're not willing to do it, you take full price and go back. Always take a sign back. And when you're the listing agent, always give a sign back. Never just say no, because you never know what this buyer. I've seen buyers go up $50,000 in one move, and I've seen them not come up a nickel. And everything in between. Okay. So always take and give a sign back. Here's the last slide. This is the closing process. Should have been probably in the beginning, but getting them to reply to your emails, exchange, email chat, building that relationship, closing for the appointment through that or by phone. And then of course the finding the house, the conversation about that. And then the getting the offer, we just talked about that. Let's sit down and put it in writing. Let's see how it looks on paper. And then getting the signature after you've put it down on paper. That's sort of the process, okay? Hopefully I've answered all your questions. My God, this is longer than I thought. Any questions? Great. Thank you all very, very much. I hope this has helped some of your questions. And I appreciate all of you thanking me up here. Thank you so very much. Have yourselves a great rest of the week. And we've got a couple more coming up. And then remember, I stop at, I think December 18 is the last one I do until the new year. So just to give you an idea. Thank you very much for your applause. Really appreciate it. Have a great day. Take care.